The single greatest fear of every real estate investor in America is a professional tenant. You know exactly what I am talking about. The tenant who smiles at the showing, hands you a fake pay stub, moves in, and stops paying rent on month 2. They know the eviction laws of your state better than your expensive real estate attorney. They squat in your property for 9 months, destroying your drywall, while the court system drags its feet and you bleed thousands of dollars in mortgage payments from your own savings account. If you experience the eviction moratoriums of 2020, you know that the government will absolutely step in and tell you that you are legally not allowed to collect the money you are owed. For the average middle-class landlord, one bad tenant is financial suicide. It wipes out years of profit. It causes panic attacks. It forces them to sell the property at a massive loss just to escape the nightmare. But what if I told you there is a parallel universe in the American housing market? A system where the risk of missed rent is mathematically eliminated. A system where, even if the economy collapses, even if the stock market crashes, and even if your tenant loses their job on a Tuesday, your rent check still hits your bank account on the first of the month, cleared and guaranteed. Who is guaranteeing it? The United States government. Welcome to the world of Section 8. Today, I'm going to tear down the single most misunderstood, stigmatized, and highly profitable wealth creation strategy in real estate. The amateurs call it slumlord investing. The professionals call it government-backed arbitrage. I am going to give you the exact, step-by-step blueprint to buy cheap real estate, bypass the traditional tenant risks, and force Uncle Sam to pay your mortgage while you build a multi-million-dollar portfolio. This is Property Path. Stop listening to broke people. Let's get to work. First, we need to completely reprogram your brain. We need to destroy the lie that the media and your terrified family members have fed you about Section 8. When average people hear Section 8, they picture housing projects. They picture crime, destroyed properties, and absolute chaos. They think that if you accept a government voucher, you are inviting criminals to completely demolish your investment. That is the lie that keeps the competition away. And I love that lie because it leaves all the money on the table for the transaction. Engineers who actually understand the data. Let us define what Section 8 actually is. It is officially called the Housing Choice Voucher Program, funded by the Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD. It is administered locally by your city or county's public housing authority, the PHA. Here is how the mechanism works. A low-income family applies for housing assistance. They sit on a massive waiting list for years. When their name is finally called, the government issues them a voucher. This voucher states that the government will pay a massive portion, sometimes 100% of their monthly rent directly to the landlord. The tenant then takes this voucher into the private rental market to find a house. They are not forced to live in a government project. They can rent your single-family home. The government wires the money directly into your LLC's bank account on the first of the month via direct deposit. The check does not bounce. The check does not ask for an extension. The check does not lose its job. Now, let us get into the exact math of how you weaponize this program to generate massive cash flow. This is where the arbitrage happens. Arbitrage is the act of buying an asset in one market and simultaneously selling it in another to profit from a price difference. In real estate, we execute FMR arbitrage. FMR stands for fair market rent. Every single year, HUD publishes a massive data set on their website. They dictate exactly what the fair market rent is for every single zip code in the United States, broken down by bedroom count. They announce exactly what they are willing to pay for a 2-bedroom, a 3-bedroom, and a 4-bedroom house in your specific county. Here is the secret the amateurs do not know. HUD's definition of fair market rent is often significantly higher than what the actual street market will pay in working-class neighborhoods. Let me give you a real-world mathematical example. You find a completely average C-class neighborhood in the Midwest or the South. The houses are older, built in the 1950s or 60s. They are structurally sound, but they are not luxury. If you buy a 3-bedroom house in this neighborhood and put it on Zillow for a traditional cash-paying tenant, the absolute maximum rent you might get is $1,100 a month. That is what the local working-class market can bear. But if you go to the HUD website and look up the exact same zip code, you might see that the government's fair market rent for a 3-bedroom house is $1,450. Do you see what just happened? If you rent to the cash-paying tenant, you collect $1,100 and you take on the massive risk that they might stop paying. If you rent to the Section 8 voucher holder, you collect $1,450. You instantly increase your gross revenue by $350 a month, over $4,000 a year in pure profit, and the majority of that money is federally guaranteed. You just manufactured cash flow out of thin air by simply understanding which customer has the deepest pockets. And nobody has deeper pockets than the American government. But how do you execute this? You cannot just buy a house and snap your fingers. There is a precise blueprint you must follow, or you will get crushed by the bureaucracy. Step 1 is asset selection. You do not buy 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom condos for Section 8. The margins are too thin. The holy grail of Section 8 investing is the 4-bedroom, single-family home. Why? Because the voucher amounts scale exponentially with the bedroom count. A single mother with 3 children qualifies for a 4-bedroom voucher. The government will pay a premium to house large families. You go onto the MLS or you pull off market lists and you specifically hunt for cheap, outdated, 4-bedroom houses in working-class neighborhoods. You buy them using the exact strategies we discussed in previous masterclasses. You use FHA loans, you use hard money, or you buy them subject to. You acquire the asset. Now, you prepare the asset. This brings us to the hidden hurdle. This is the trap that kills 90% of rookie investors who try to play the Section 8 game. The skeptics in the comments are typing right now, Section 8 is a nightmare. The government makes you jump through a million hoops. The inspectors will fail your house for a scratched wall. They're talking about the HQ's, the Housing Quality Standards Inspection. Before the government will allow their voucher holder to move into your property, and before they will authorize your direct deposit, they send a local PHA inspector to your house. They must ensure the property is safe, sanitary, and structurally sound. Amateurs fail this inspection constantly. They fail because they are lazy. They buy a house, slap some paint on it, and call the inspector. The inspector walks in, finds 14 violations, fails the property, and tells the landlord to fix it and reschedule in 3 weeks. For 3 weeks, the house sits empty. You collect 0 rent, but your mortgage payment is still due. You bleed cash. You are not going to be an amateur. You are going to treat the HQ's inspection like a military operation. The HUD inspection checklist is public information. It is a PDF document you can download right now. You print it out. You walk through your property with a clipboard before you ever call the housing authority. What are they looking for? They are looking for life safety issues. Are there working smoke detectors in every single bedroom and the main hallway? Is there a carbon monoxide detector near the furnace? Do every single one of the windows open, stay open on their own, and have a working lock? Are there any cracked outlet covers? Is there a GFI protected outlet within 6 feet of the kitchen sink and the bathroom vanity? Is the hot water heater properly equipped with a discharge pipe that extends exactly 6 inches from the floor? And the biggest deal killer of all, peeling paint. If your house was built before 1978, the government assumes there is lead-based paint. If an inspector sees 1 square inch of peeling, chipping, or flaking paint on the exterior siding, on the windowsills, on the porch railing, they will instantly fail the house. You fix these items before the inspector ever arrives. You scrape and paint the sills. You replace the $2 outlet covers. You test the smoke alarms. When the inspector arrives, you meet them at the door. You are professional. You hand them a house that is spotless. They check their boxes, they sign the approval, and your property is legally certified to become a government ATM. Step 3 is the tenant placement. This is where the second massive lie about Section 8 lives. The lie that says you cannot screen Section 8 tenants. You just have to take whoever the government gives you, and they will destroy your house. That is completely false. The government issues the voucher. They do not issue the tenant. You are still a private landlord operating a private business. You have the absolute legal right to aggressively screen your Section 8 applicants as long as you comply with the Fair Housing Act. When you list your approved 4-bedroom house, your phone will ring off the hook. Section 8 tenants are desperate for high-quality housing because most landlords are slumlords who refuse to maintain their properties. You will have 20 applicants in the first week. You do not accept the first person who shows up. You put them through an ironclad screening process. You run a full criminal background check. You look for violent crimes or property damage history. You run a credit check. Yes, they are low income, but you are looking for their behavioral history. Do they have 10 unpaid utility bills? If they cannot keep the power on, they are going to freeze your pipes in the winter. Most importantly, you call their last two landlords. You do not call their current landlord, because their current landlord might lie and say they are angels just to get them to move out. You call the previous landlord. You ask one simple question: would you rent to this person again? If the answer is no, you deny the application and move to the next one. When you find the right family, a mother who has kept a clean record, who has great references from her past landlord, and who is thrilled to put her kids in a safe house, you sign the lease. And here is the ultimate leverage you have as a Section 8 investor. It is the greatest behavioral control mechanism in the entire real estate industry. If a cash-paying tenant decides to destroy your drywall or stop paying their portion of the rent, what happens? You evict them. It hurts their credit score. They don't care about their credit score. They move into another apartment down the street. If a Section 8 tenant destroys your property or violates the lease, what happens? You report them to the local public housing authority. If a tenant is evicted for lease violations, they lose their Section 8 voucher forever. Do you understand the psychological power of that? These families waited 3 to 5 years on a waiting list to get that golden ticket. That voucher is their lifeline. It is worth tens of thousands of dollars to them over the course of their life. They will guard that voucher with their life. They will protect your property, because if they lose that voucher, they are out on the street with zero government assistance. Your house will often be treated better by a properly screened Section 8 tenant than by an entitled, high-income tech worker. The risk is mitigated by the government's threat of removal. Now, let us talk about the advanced play. Let us talk about how the professionals scale this to build massive wealth. It is called the annual rent increase hack. With a traditional cash-paying tenant, raising the rent is an emotional battlefield. When their one-year lease is up, if you tell them you are raising the rent by $150 a month, they will threaten to move out. They will complain. You risk having a vacancy, paying for a turnover, and losing money. With Section 8, raising the rent is a bureaucratic procedure. Every single year, because of inflation, HUD increases the fair market rent limits in your zip code. The government prints trillions of dollars, the cost of living goes up, and HUD is legally required to adjust their payout charts. 60 days before your tenant's annual lease renewal, you do not call the tenant to negotiate. The tenant does not care, because the tenant is not paying the difference. You go to the HUD website, you see that the FMR for your 4-bedroom house went from $1,450 to $1,600. You fill out a one-page rent increase request form. You submit it to your local housing authority. You state that, based on the new FMR guidelines and comparable properties in the area, your new rent is $1,600. The housing authority reviews it. Because you are operating within their mathematical limits, they stamp it approved. Your gross revenue just increased by $150 a month, $1,800 a year in new, pure profit, and you never had an uncomfortable conversation with your tenant. The government simply adjusts their direct deposit, and the new, larger check hits your LLC's bank account on the first of the month. You do this every single year. You weaponize the government's inflation against them. Your fixed-rate 30-year mortgage stays exactly the same, but your government-backed income rises year after year. Your cash flow expands exponentially. Let us zoom out and look at the macro reality. The amateur investor buys a house, puts a bad cash-paying tenant in it, gets burned, complains that real estate is a scam, and goes back to putting their money in a $401,000 that generates 6% a year while inflation runs at 8%. They die broke. The professional investor understands that the United States government is the most reliable payer on planet Earth. They buy cheap assets in C-class neighborhoods. They pass the HQ's inspection with military precision. They screen their tenants ruthlessly. They secure the federal direct deposit. They force the government to give them a raise every 12 months. They take that guaranteed cash flow and they use it to qualify for more bank loans to buy more 4-bedroom houses. They build a fortress of government-backed cash flow that survives recessions, survives pandemics, and survives stock market crashes. The information is entirely free. The FMR charts are public data. The inspection checklists are public data. The entire blueprint is sitting right in front of you. The execution is what will cost you. It will cost you the willingness to deal with bureaucracy. It will cost you the discipline to fix the peeling paint. It will cost you the courage to do what the frightened middle class refuses to do. I want you to open a new tab right now. Search for HUD-FMR calculator, type in your county. Look at what the United States government is willing to pay for a 4-bedroom house in your market today. Look at that number and realize that you are leaving thousands of dollars on the table by playing the traditional game. Drop the name of your city and the 4-bedroom FMR payout in the comments below. Let's see who actually knows how to do research. Stop complaining about the economy. Start extracting wealth from it. I will see you at the closing table.